Hello everybody, welcome to the Gaming Grappler, and for today's video I'm doing a hell of a review for UFC 269 Charles Super Saiyan Dubronx versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. This was an amazing card. I made a video about my predictions for the card. I got a lot of them wrong, so I got some egg on my face for this follow-up video, but on the plus side of that, the card was amazing and all the wins were by upset, and it made the card that much more dynamic. So just a heads up for those of you that are new to my channel, this is a channel where I talk about MMA and video games. And why do I do that? Well, because I love those things. So you should check out some other videos. I got some fantastic gaming content, and I make UFC videos all the time because they're the easiest to produce. With that being said, let's get into the card because it is one hell of a card. We're going to get in right into the prelims because, yes, the prelims were that good. A lot of the fights on the prelims could have been, in fact, on the main card. That's just how amazing it was. So the first fight was Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of that name. And Bruno Silva, Leonardo Bruno Silva. And this fight was pretty good. Jordan Wright is coming off a loss, I believe, to Joaquin Buckley. He's the guy that's known for the infamous spin kick knockout. And in this fight, the guy just went in guns blazing, trying to headhunt and knock out Bruno Silva. And it was an amazing fight. And the problem with trying to headhunt and knock out Bruno Silva is that Silva is a pretty good counter puncher, and he caught him. He caught him, and he laid out Jordan Wright, and he put him on the floor, and he left him there. That was pretty much the whole fight. It only lasted a round. And the next fight was Augusto Sakai, doesn't have a nickname at this point, and Ty Bam Bam Tuivasa. And Bam Bam is one of my favorite heavyweight fighters on the roster. I think he started to become famous. He's become quite a phenomenon with the shoeies and all that. Apparently, that's what they do in Australia. They drink beer out of a shoe, and he's just bringing that over here. And the fight was amazing. It went pretty much exactly how I expected. Tai Tuivasa took it apart. He took apart Sakai apart in the striking, and he just completely destroyed him. Shoeies were had, celebrations unfolded, and what an amazing fight that was. Just what an amazing win for Ty Bam Bam Tuivasa. Then we had Pedro Munhoz versus Dominick Cruz, and this was another amazing fight. Now, this fight in the first round, Pedro Munhoz looked like he had Dominick Cruz beat. He knocked him down viciously, and he was attacking him a lot. Like Dominick Cruz did the chicken dance multiple times, but he recovered pretty amazingly and then started to pick apart Munhoz in the following rounds. In rounds 2 and 3, he started to beat him on the striking. He was much more active in his striking, and he let out a lot of volume, and he was just incredible. Dominick still got some fight on him, but I'm going to be honest, I still stand by my claims I made in my predictions video, and that I don't think that Cruz can hang in there with the top 5 guys in the divisions. Again, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I mean, I'm kind of being an asshole about it, but Cruz is just, I don't see him beating Sandhagen. I don't see him beating Poirier. Aljo, again, is a real monster on the ground, despite the fact that everybody hates him. Poor Aljo. But moving on, let's get into Josh Emmett versus Dan Ige, and this was a pretty good fight. Josh Emmett was looking fucking gigantic in the cage in this fight. The guy looked like a lightweight or a welterweight in there. He was headhunting in the first round. At one point, he made Dan Ige do the chicken dance, and he had him wobbling for a bit, and then he just started loading up on power shots. In the second round, Dan Ige was starting to light up Josh Emmett with the superior volume, but then Josh Emmett made an adjustment in the third round and started picking his shots more carefully. He was working his jab more, and he himself started to land more volume shots with the occasional power shot. Nothing as impressive in the first round, and overall he won the fight. I agree completely with the judges' decisions, and it was a pretty amazing fight. And then we had Raulian Paiva. I finally learned how to pronounce his last name thanks to the announcers of Joe Rogan, versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. And again, Sean O'Malley has been hyped to hell and back, so this is a fight where it was not up or shut up. Let's see if you live up to the hype and get it done. And overall, he lived up to the hype. His striking was phenomenal. He avoided all the takedowns. It was just a technical. Raulian Paiva was destroyed via controlled demolition by Sugar Sean O'Malley. He He knocked him out with precision, accurate punches, and then he started like doing what looked like, you know, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with Star Potman goes, oh no, 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 no. He started doing that to Raulian Paiva up against the cage, and it was pretty awesome. What an amazing win. Let's move on to our next fight, which was Kai Kara-France versus Cody No Love Garbrandt. And a big thing going into this fight, and I said this in my predictions video, is that I don't see why Cody Garbrandt felt the need to drop down and fly. The guy has a pretty good frame for bantamweight. He's 5'8", and at a 5'8" range, you can fight all the way in lightweight. We see Michael Chandler, who, you know what, his fight against Charles Dubrot's Oliveira has probably aged a lot better given the results of tonight's fight, but you can fight in 5'8" in bantamweight. That's a really good, amazing frame for that division. He had no reason to drop down to flyweight. I think one of the reasons why Cody Garbrandt has been going on this losing streak is because his fundamentals need to be brushed up on. He needs to work on some skills, and he needs to fix his mentality. The guy just goes in guns blazing half the time. He got knocked out by Pedro Munhoz because he got angry and he just started bull rushing the guy, and he walked into a hook. And a similar sort of thing happened with Kai Kara-France. Kai Kara-France is a powerful guy. According to the gangster Israel Adesanya himself, the guy is a power puncher, and we saw that tonight. He lit up Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt was knocked down like 3 times in a row before he was finally saved by Herb Dean, who usually Herb has lately been letting people go to war. We might as well just call Herb Dean Herb Shao Kahn Dean. If he dies, he dies. But in this case, it was a good stoppage. It was a necessary stoppage because, again, Kai Kara-France was just lighting him up with superior power, and it was another amazing fight. But then we had the dud of the night, Jeffneal versus Santiago. I can't pronounce that last name. Pozinho? I'm sorry. I swear, man. Guys, I go to a jiu-jitsu gym, and the Brazilian instructor there, he's going to choke me out. He's going to choke me out for ruining these names. I guarantee you, if you're ever watching these videos, I'm getting my ass kicked in. But this fight was pretty boring. At no point did I think any of these guys were in danger in the fight. It was just the dud of the night. There was nothing memorable about this fight. Jeffneal won. You could argue that Santiago should have won. It was a pretty competitive fight, but compared to the next 2 fights, this is just the dud of the night. I don't know what else I can say about it. I completely forgot about it. I just rewatched the pay-per-view just to see if I had anything interesting to say about it, and yeah, nothing really significant happened the entire fight. And this was an amazing fight. Again, woo! Amanda the Lioness Nunes versus Juliana Pena, the Venezuelan vixen. And nobody expected Juliana Pena to win this fight, and she won. So the first round of the fight looked like a typical round 1 from Amanda Nunes, where she was winning in the striking. She had dominant positions on the ground, and it just looked like we were in for another Amanda Nunes fight, where we are seeing another victim being led to the slaughterhouse. But the complete opposite happened in the 3rd round. In the 3rd round, Juliana Pena stepped on the gas pedal and started hitting very fundamental, very powerful stiff jabs on Amanda Nunes. And they were very powerful jabs that you could see that Nunes was getting frustrated by getting hit in. So she tried to light up Pena with some power of her own. But what ended up happening was that she just ended up walking into stiff jabs. And you could hear by the commentary team, DC even said this, was that Amanda Nunes was throwing like all the power shots she could, but she was still walking into, for the most part, stiff jabs by Juliana Pena, and she just got torn apart, and eventually she gassed herself. She was completely out of gas, and then Juliana Pena decided to take her down on the ground, and at the end of the round, she got her in a rear naked choke, and even though she didn't have the hooks in, Amanda Nunes taps. And I kind of had flashbacks to when Jan Blachowicz was fighting Glover Teixeira, and Teixeira was on Blachowicz' neck, and the guy tapped instantly. And when you see people do that, it's usually because their gas tank has been expended and they can't dig deep and fight anymore, so they just kind of give up. The rear naked choke is kind of like an escape rope for people in that kind of situation. And now, last and certainly not least, the main event, Charles Super Saiyan Dubronx Oliveira versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I gotta say, I've been watching some Ric Flair clips. That's why I'm giving all the woo today. And I can't get enough. This was an amazing fight. What can I say? Charles Oliveira, man, everybody who underestimated them has some egg on their face, me included. Now, what I thought was going to happen, if you look at the first round of this fight, was they got into a striking affair. And to give Charles Oliveira his striking had high volume and a high diversity of strikes and moves. This guy wasn't just headhunting while he was striking Dustin Poirier. He was doing knees to the body. He was doing body shots. He was just working jabs and uppercuts and working in some takedowns. But Dustin, as we know, is a very powerful power puncher. And he knocked out Oliveira 3 times in the first round, but the guy just did not stop with his onward pressure. Then in the second round, we got into a boring hugging contest. Oliveira got Dustin Poirier on the floor. And Dustin just made, we heard this in the post-fight interview, he just made an executive decision and said, fuck it. There is no way on this earth that I am going to get into a jiu-jitsu match with you. So he just held him down there and prayed to the Lord that he wouldn't get subbed for the rest of the match. And that's basically what happened for the second round. The third round, Oliveira just jumped on Dustin Poirier's back and got maybe one of the most stylish main event submissions I've seen in the lightweight division in a long time. Charles Dubronx. I'm calling him Super Saiyan Dubronx because he's got the blonde hair and he's steamrolling people. He jumped on Dustin the Diamond Poirier's back and got a standing rear naked choke, and he beat him like that. So where does this leave the lightweight division? Where does this leave Charles Oliveira? I gotta say, after watching Charles Oliveira and the way he grapples, it's really amazing. The way he gets people on the ground is very energy efficient. What he will do is he will do suicide falls in which he uses the weight to get his opponent to fall with him, or he'll get trips where he'll pull out, where he'll get a hook in his opponent's leg while they're up against the cage, and then he'll use leverage to take him to the ground. And in doing that, you don't waste a lot of energy, and it's very energy efficient. And you have to think that Charles Oliveira, this guy has the most submissions in UFC history. So even if he gets on the ground in a compromising position, or he ends up on his back, he's still dangerous. He can still sub you. So no matter what happens, as long as he gets on the ground, he'll be good. And I have to say, there's some questions I have to ask now. What would have happened if Khabib Nurmagomedov fought against Charles Oliveira? Stylistically, it's a very entertaining matchup, and I want to know what happens. And after watching this fight, I have to say that Charles Oliveira definitely deserves to be champion. If people had any questions about his heart and seeing how this guy just keeps moving on, he is Brazilian Tony Ferguson. The guy does not give a shit. He will get hit and keep on moving forward. And he put on a hell of a fight and showed hell of a heart this entire time in this entire fight. And his grappling is really high level. I have to wonder what will happen if he fights Beneil Dariush or Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev has been said that everybody is afraid to fight this guy. But after this fight right here, I don't know if he'd win against Charles Oliveira. It's a highly competitive matchup now that I think about it. And now that I know that Justin Gaethje is going up against Charles Oliveira, I don't think Gaethje can beat him. I mean, he's got the calf kick and he's a power puncher, but we've seen that Oliveira can take a punch. He took all of Michael Chandler's strongest punches. He took all of Dustin Poirier's strongest punches. So even if Justin Gaethje lands a few power punches, I don't think that's going to be enough to take out Oliveira. And we've seen that Justin Gaethje in his fight against Khabib Nurmagomedov, he had no answer once he was on the, when he was on the ground, the guy looked like a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Cannot be a blue belt in jiu-jitsu against Charles Oliveira. Dustin Poirier is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he couldn't compete with Oliveira on the floor. So I gotta say, what an amazing card. All the fights were good. The prelims, the main card, except for the Jeffneal fight, was kind of a dud, but overall, this was a phenomenal card. Now, as for me, as for my channel, The Gaming Grappler, I have a lot of amazing content. You guys should check out my gaming videos if you haven't already. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I also upload UFC content on a semi-regular basis that you guys should check out. Thank you, and have a good one.